A very good evening and welcome to Correro, a platform for a big conversation where we analyze and also dissect issues. My name is Godwin Sunday. A lot of issues to dissect today about Nigerian education and its whole spectrum. We will be x-raying what the education system was, what it is, and what it ought to be even in Nigeria. We'll take a short break right now. When we return, we'll dive into the conversation. Please stay with us. You're welcome back. Well, the welfare of academics in Nigeria remains a very critical issue in the nation's education development. Academicians, particularly College of Education lecturers, researchers and scholars, play a central role in teaching, research, innovation and national development. However, concerns over poor remuneration, inadequate research funding, delayed salary, poor working conditions and brain drain have continued to dominate discussions within the higher education sector. These challenges have significant implications for the quality of education, research output, and of course the whole global competitiveness which Nigeria is also being confronted with. Now, the welfare of academics is directly linked to the quality of higher education and national development, while recent policy interventions signal a commitment to improving conditions. Sustainable progress will require adequate funding, effective implementation, of course, of the agreement by the federal government and also other unions within the academic sphere, improve infrastructure, competitive innovation, and a strong support for research and innovation will also add a spice to the whole welfare of academicians. A well-motivated academic workforce remains essential to building a knowledge-driven and globally competitive Nigeria. Tonight on Correro, we will center the conversation around colleges of education, and of course joining me right now tonight for the conversation is Dr. Ahmed Lawan Bazza, President, Colleges of Education Academic Staff Union of Nigeria. Dr. Alwal Ahmed, it's a delight to have you join me on Correro. Good evening.
Thank you, sir. Good evening.
Well, let's even begin the conversation. Of course, just like COESU, ASU and other union have been on the forefront of even calling on the government to look inward into the Nigerian educational system. But then, to begin with, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the federal government's commitment to the welfare of Nigerian academics?
Thank you very much, and thank you, viewers. And on the scale of 1 to 10, I probably will say 4. Because we're about 40%. We are still like a little past mark.
Well, interested. Although you did not give us some of the indices that you used to arrive at that particular 4%. You want to tell us something that maybe to even conclude at 4%?
Let's look
because the government have shown a lot of commitment. We've seen right now where the government will say on TED fund alone that's close to about 2 billion 56 million and 527,000 naira has been given in support to colleges of education to further support the education growth. But looking at this, you're giving it 4%. How did you arrive at this figure?
You see, let's look at the budget itself. Right. In 2024, the budget for education was about 8-something%. And in 2025, it drops to 7.12%. Now, in 2026, the budget is about 3-something trillion, which is about 6-something%. So we're going down instead of improving. So if you look at the UNESCO recommendation for education in a nation, it's about 25%. So when you take 6 out of 25, you will see that it's ranged within that 40%.
So we are far from even reality.
We are far from it.
You said 6%, but then the data is showing me 5.5%.
You can see it's lower than what.
That's 3.52 trillion naira.
The 6% comes when you add what TED fund is.
Oh, so you add the TED fund into it.
Yes.
Well, interesting.
Yes.
With growing concern over inflation, migration of academicians, of skilled academics, and the recurring welfare disputes that we are experiencing in the country, is Nigeria at risk of producing a generation of teachers trained in an underfunded and demoralized system? Because right now, based on the research that we even carried out, it's showing that a lot of Nigerian lecturers, even from College of Education, are a bit demoralized to even impact knowledge. Are we building a generation of this magnitude?
Yeah, it seems we are going towards that. What you just mentioned about Nigerian academics leaving the country, for example, in the last 5 years, statistics and records have shown that we have over 10,000 academics that have left the system. In 2023, a survey was conducted. 40% of Nigerian education are ready to leave the country if given the opportunity, because of the pay you see there and the welfare packages outside. Look at just Ghana, that is close to us here. In Ghana, a professor receives about $1,200. And while in Nigeria is about a little close to $300. That is fourfold of Nigeria. While in South Africa it's about $3,600, which is about 12-fold what Nigeria is. So any Nigerian academics that have that opportunity will definitely leave the country to get that opportunity there. So we are in this context as we are going. Education is clearly recorded over the 10 years. That is the least subscribed course, education courses in Nigeria. Least subscribed. So it means people are not coming in. Our young Nigerians are not coming into education. Why is it there? We have placed teacher in the background of Nigerian educational system, or in the Nigerian context of economic context. So that definitely is bringing in people that probably don't even have the opportunity to do other things, and they say, let me just try education. Today in the universities, for example, when the courses are allocated, what is left, we will now say push them to education. And you see, that's where we are going. And that is
could that be the reason why we have close to 2,000 students in Faculty of Education, usually,
yes,
or more than 2,000 students in the Faculty of Education in almost all universities in the country?
Yeah, that could be the reason.
So it's the last hope of the common man.
Yes,
that
it's the
has
last
failed
hope.
other courses.
Let me give you this
right
typical example. Yes. In the tripod of Nigerian education system, we have the universities, the Polytechnic, and the College of Education. In the last JAM that just occurred, over 2 million candidates wrote JAM. Out of these 2 million candidates, about 2.something%, or almost 3%, applied for colleges of education and polytechnics. So it means about 1% of that number applied for education in colleges of education. So you can see the drop. And once you see us getting even more students, when the universities and polytechnics have completed their admission, those that cannot get in will now fall back to colleges of education. So you can see where we are now.
Well, Doctor, you've talked about JAM, but then KWESU, as a union, have formally rejected the federal government unilateral policy granting admission exemptions to candidates seeking entry into colleges of education, warning that it compromises standards in teachers' education. But then, help us understand, why did KWESU hold sway to that position?
You know, it's not just about the policy. You know, initially what we said, when a policy like that magnitude, critical stakeholders need to be involved in the discussion so that we understand the direction and where we are going to advise appropriately. In some of the colleges of education whereby you see high number of students coming in, it's not just because of JAM that was removed, but because there was conscious effort by the community to fund the student admission. So because the barrier of funding has come in, students were able to come into that system. So what we are saying is that even if we want JAM to be out for now, so that we attract, but let's look at WAEC and NECO, because that is the basis for admission. And I always say, if somebody scores 399, for example, or 90 in JAM over 400, and that same person have, let's say, 3 credits, he will not get admission in any Nigerian university, because the credit requirement for admission is either WAEC or NECO. So we need to look at the admission, the examination process of WAEC and NECO. If we strengthen that part of the admission administration, we are likely going to have good improvement. And even if somebody has 3 or 4 credit and he owns the 3 or 4 credit, it means it is his 3 or 4 credit, he will do well in any institution you place him, whether university or college of education. But when you have somebody that has 7 credit with probably A1, A2, and that person cannot defend the 7 credit or A1 or 2, probably even to speak English, it will be difficult.
Dr. Ahmed, help me understand this. First, by the statistics, we have close to roughly 5,000 teachers leaving higher institutions of learning, and lecturers, I beg your pardon, leaving higher institutions of learning right now. Just in University of Lagos alone, they recorded about 1,200 of lecturers. Let's even trickle it down to colleges of education. Lecturers are leaving by the day in search of greener pastures out there. And the federal government have come out with a policy saying that they want to even ensure that more people study education so that they can further accelerate the course and make it more relevant and more potent, and get more lecturers even and teachers for the future of Nigerians. And Kwasu is saying at this point that more stakeholders engagement, there was no consultation. Help me to understand, how does this work?
You see, in colleges of education, the lecturers leaving is not even to greener pasture outside Nigeria. Because of the welfare to teachers and college of education system, the lecturers in college of education are moving to universities within Nigeria. For example, a lecturer will get employed and spend about 14, 15 years in college of education. You can see the development of that lecturer in that stage. But because of the welfare packages in the College of Education and the consideration of teacher education, the person moves to university. And though we have tried as a union now to be able to curtail this movement within the College of Education system into university and others by amending the Act establishing colleges of education, where we have what we call dual mandate now. So we think with the dual mandate, it can attract more of our Nigerian youth into teacher education, because the dual mandate is a holistic package where we also have looked at the curriculum, which has been over 20, 30 years. Now the world have changed globally, new technologies in it. So we are changing the curriculum to fit in this. So with this, we are likely going to retain. But government have to have conscious effort to retain this by way of improving welfare. And that's what brings me to the agreement we are talking about between government and the union. We
will get to that, the government, that part of the government and the union, because let's concentrate first on the welfare, because I'm trying to understand how all these things work. Okay, so again, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has consistently said that his administration is committed to improving tertiary education welfare. Now, you're talking about teachers or lecturers moving from colleges of education to universities. But he has pledged his commitment. Let's even look at from 2023 till date. What measurable improvements in lecturers' welfare have occurred since 2023 compared to his predecessors? Have there been improvements? Have the numbers even dwindled?
No, you see, we must commend the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, one, for signing the Act, because the Act is a holistic document that have the ability to make these changes. So it was signed on 12th June. I think by this week it will be 2023. That was when it was signed. So it gives the College of Education a new leaf. But since then, when we talk about welfare, for 16 years after the signing of the agreement in 2010 with government, no government have consciously done an effort to even sit. We sat, but it will be go there won't be commitment and nothing happens. It was when this government came in, and with the Honorable Minister Tunji Alausa and the Honorable Minister of State, Professor Said, Suwaiba Said, and government was able to bring the renegotiation of government team into one body. Before, polytechnics would be doing their own, universities their own, colleges of education their own. So there was no synergy, and government was not committed. But now the team was brought as one, headed by Alhaji Ahmed, and that was where we had the breakthrough. So we have signed the agreement. On paper, yes, but what is to come to us, we have not seen it yet, 6 months after.
6 months after it is. Well, when we talk about the whole intervention, for government to intervene in the whole KWASU issues, it tends to be centered around salaries, arrears, allowances in tertiary institutions. That's where the conversation centered around.
No.
But beyond salaries, one will feel that academians don't have challenges. What are even the biggest welfare deficits facing academics today? Is it housing? Is it healthcare, research grants, transportation, or pension administration? What is the biggest challenge?
Welfare is not about salary. It's a holistic word that determines everything about teaching.
But that's where the strike, that's where we have strike action that emerges from.
In the colleges of education, for example, if you look at what we did, in all our submission in the agreement with government, salary was just one aspect of it. And when government offered what they have, we didn't even argue about that, because we saw the honesty in saying we can offer this. And the salary, Michael, is not what was increased. The government came up with what we call consolidated academic tools allowances for us to have some money to do certain things, and that was 40% of the salary. So the salary that we are talking about over the years since 2016 is still the same thing, but an allowance was added to you. But let's go back to pension administration, for example. Now, a professor or a chief lecturer in the College of Education, when he retires, it may take him up to 2 years or more to be able to get his entitlement. And I can tell you, we have records and statistics whereby those of our professors and chief lecturers that have left the system by way of retirement cannot afford to pay rent, cannot even, when you age, there are certain ailments that always go with somebody, cannot afford to pay hospital bills, cannot afford to even eat good food. So at the end of the day, we have it on record, number of our lecturers that have retired after service to the nation for over 30, 40 years, and they cannot even enjoy the pension. The pension administration system makes it so cumbersome that you get tired of it, and a lot of them are dead now without even obtaining the pension. That's one. The purchasing power of what we get now is so low that all of us go to the same market. You look at the cost of price, that is transportation, that is fuel, transportation, cost of food in the market, the inflationary rate. This all tells, it gives a lot of strain, heavy strain on the meager salary that is earned by a teacher. It will shock you to know that as a lecturer and a teacher, you don't even have the capacity and the funding to even send your child to a good school. You don't, because the school is heavy.
Perhaps that's because the teacher's reward is in heaven, or you don't think so?
Yeah, you see, reward in heaven is for all of us if you do the right thing.
But teachers will have their own special mansion if we go by that narrative. Let's even get you talk about the whole welfare package for teachers and lecturers, even in College of Education. Now speaking of the welfare, does KWASU even carry out assessment on stress for lecturer, assessment on burnout and mental health challenges among lecturers, and what are the findings, if at all?
No, we have not carried that out those surveys for now.
So you're saying at this point that KWASU depend heavily and largely on the government to carry out welfare packages, and within the union?
No, we have
form of
no. We have
mechanism.
developed something within us which we call cooperatives.
So we know that it is only the what they call it, because the report has it that only staff of physical and health education, that's PHE, carry out some of this exercise because it's part of their profession.
Yes.
So apart from PHE,
in some colleges actually they organize, like my college, just last month they organized this kind of fitness exercise and some blood pressures, whatever. There are some medical assessment that was done. We do it, but it's not a conscious effort that we say should be in a program. But that will be done by the grace of God. But what we are saying is this: sometimes, for you to even sit and think about those things, out of the box of what you are doing. We are talking about leisure. You need to be financially buoyant to even handle certain things. So when the money is not there for you to even take care of your basic needs, and when you come to the office, it's an environment that you don't even need to stay. You don't have power supplies. The power supply is one of the major issues that is killing our tertiary institution, because when you come to your office, there is no light and you can't stay there to do certain activities. So you just come in, do your lectures and probably go. Even the lecture environment is not standard when you look at what is happening just even outside Nigeria and so on. So we think government should look at education and should look at certain privileges that the teacher can get. For example, even the salary we are talking about that we have signed agreement with government, you see that the gross salary you think it is much, but at the end of the day, there are certain deductions that goes tax, for example, very huge. And once you go back to that, if your salary for now, before the agreement we have noticed, I said the salary of a professor take home may not be up to 300 or 400,000 naira. So you can see where we are today. It's the same salary that has been existing since 2010. And you know, in 2010, less than 10,000 naira can buy me a bag of rice. But yet, I'm still receiving the same salary after 16 years.
Well, Dr. Ahmed, I have with me a communique reached even in your last stakeholders meeting held in Warri in Delta State, where members raised concern about some of the things that you've said right now, that their salaries doesn't reflect the realities of the economy, that they are delayed in promotions and also inadequate research funding. But what percentage of COESU members currently have unresolved promotion-related issue? That's on one hand. On the other hand, you've spoke about the fact that most teachers cannot send their children to good schools. And I'm asking right now, you are the president of COESU. How much additional funding would be required annually to significantly improve teachers' welfare and working conditions nationwide?
In 2014 and 2024 and before that time, federal government did what is called needs assessment of all tertiary institutions. In the colleges of education, the needs assessment result came out, convened by federal government from the presidency. An amount of about 400 billion is required to be able to address these challenges. But as I'm talking to you, after about a decade, only 15 billion was released out of 400 billion at that time. If we look at inflationary rate now, we're talking about 3 times, so we need about 1.2 to 1.5 trillion naira for us to address those needs of the colleges of education alone. So government will go out and carry out the survey by themselves, bring out figures, but funding becomes an issue of those figures. So this is in the public domain that these are the amounts needed. Since that time, it's about 400 billion, and I'm saying now with the inflationary rate, with the kind of dollar naira exchange, we are talking about 1.2 billion, 1.2 trillion naira now that is required to be able to address. When we talk about the College of Education, we are not talking about federal. We are talking about College of Education in Nigeria, public College of Education in Nigeria, and that was what the needs assessment covered. And you see all this agreement when we do it, when we discuss, and these figures is rolled out. The state government reneged. They don't even participate in a way.
Because they were not part of even the stakeholders meeting, or were they consulted before?
Of course
such
they were.
Figures were released?
The needs assessment was carried out with them in their state College of Education and federal College of Education, and that result came out. So they were part of it. And even the funding of that, the federal government of Nigeria took it upon themselves that they will fund it. But as I told you, since that time up to today, we just had a release of 15 billion from that amount and nothing more.
Well, let's talk about the communique. What percentage of KWESU members currently have unresolved promotion-related issues?
We have, when you said members, we do have about 70 chapters, we call them. That is State College of Education in Nigeria as KWESU corporate members. So out of that, if you separate them, the states have the largest number. And in those state colleges of education, over 70% have unresolved issue that has to do with remuneration, and that is salaries and other welfare. While in the federal college of education, at least we have been able to address, the federal government has been able to address a lot of that. So we have less than 20% in that.
So when the states government are not even paying attention to colleges of education, can we say the state governments are deliberately paving the way for some of the setbacks that the colleges of education are having in the country? Or how do we even look at this from your own perspective?
Yeah, you see, education, for it to strive in Nigeria, is a collective effort. The state government, the federal government, the private sectors, development partners, even alumni association. So, but the state government have always fall back when agreements are reached. We have asked them severally to domesticate those agreements. Some superb states do very good in implementing, and sometimes in even some states they even collect their salaries is even more than that of federal government. But we have a lot of states that are not holding. So by implication, the state governments have been part of the problem that we are having today. And their funding of education is even worse than what they depend solely. For example, a state governor will come and establish, let's say, a college of education, and his primary dependence is from TETFON. There is no conscious effort by the state governor or government to have funds that will also sustain an institution that they have established. So we are already having these challenges. It's not just college of education, even universities are having that issue. State universities.
Well, universities have always been a recurring phenomenon and a common decibel factor within the Nigerian educational system. Of course, ASU is also warming up right now, based on the report that we have, that they're warming up for a new strike action. I don't know if you're aware, ASU is warming up for strike. But then let's concentrate on the College of Education. Again, your union has raised concern about inconsistency with the implementation of its agreements generally with the federal government, which you've said. And also, the union also have complained about rigorous political interferences of even to education administration. But then, the other part of the argument says that from the part of the government, the state government, the funds are being released to colleges of education. But then, most of the persons at the helm of affairs tend to mismanage these funds. Let me even ask at this point, so far, have the union benefited, or have College of Education benefited from all of these agreements? Or do disparities just have become the standard?
The agreement was just signed, like I told you.
Yes, I know.
So,
but prior to this time, other agreements have been reached with other state governments.
I think they have not.
All right, please.
They have not. They have not. That's what I've been telling you. We signed the agreement in 2010, and 2010. This is the next time. That's 16 years after yeah. that we signed another one, which has not been implemented.
So the 2010 yet. Was it fully implemented?
No, a lot
so
of
things. That's the previous agreement I was trying to.
Yes, the previous. Yeah. It was not. It was not. It was not. And that's why we call it renegotiation, because we brought out the agreement of 2010 and looked at it and see what has been done and what has not been done. I think out of the agreement of 2010, we could say probably about 15 or 20% of what was agreed was implemented by government, but majority was not. That was why there are these agitations. That was why in some instances there were strike actions to even ask government to implement those things. But what we did as a union, majority of our charter of demands lies even in the act that established colleges of education. So since government was not ready to look at it the way it is supposed to look at it, so we went to the act and amended the act, repealed and did some changes, which was signed by President Bola. So it has solved over 50% of our charter of demand from that moment. So we are left with about 50% now of what it is there.
Are you optimistic that 50% will be agreement will be reached?
Yeah,
by this
will.
Administration.
Yeah, like we spoke about the dual mandate.
Yes.
And consciously now, the government have taken up the dual mandate issues, and we have at least have tremendous achievement within those 3-4 months of the signing of the agreement with the dual mandate. So the government have come out, the Honorable Minister, as both of them, has come out to say the dual mandate should be the way it was conceived by the intendment of the act. It has been taken, JAM have been involved. In fact, next week on the 15th, there will be a stakeholders meeting involving the provost, the registrars, the unions, to also look at to also understand, let me say, the policy of the dual mandate. So on that aspect, we are gaining very, very strong grounds in achieving that. And like I said, the curriculum is also on ground, and we have worked it. And I think probably by the end of this month, or at most next month, July 2nd week, the brand new curriculum that will change the face of teacher education will be out. So on that aspect, we have moved forward, honestly.
Well, some of these things you said kept it has been sufficing ever since. And it tends to end even on the paper. There's no full implementation. Are you saying that you are optimistic that all of this paperwork will be fully implemented, or again you have to wait for another 16 years?
No. You see, like I told you, the act, which is the law.
But you won't compel the government to implement, since they are the implementing partner.
It has been implemented.
But they are the implementing partner.
Yes.
Will also compel the government at this point?
We will partner with them and ask them to do that. They have understood where we are going. Like I said, in our union, when you look at the welfare package we are talking about, we were not even talking, when we had our agreement with government, the salary issue was not the main thing. The main thing is for us to have a welfare package that will also attract, because even the students are not coming. There is attrition in the colleges of education. So what we did first was to ensure that the teacher education and college of education attracts students, and government have done that consciously. And that's why we talked about the dual mandate. That's why we talked about the curriculum review. NELFON is there to do that. We are suggesting to government again to have a special fund, a scholarship special fund for any Nigerian child that wants to read education, if we want to do it consciously. This is something that I believe the government will hold on.
I thought you would be suggesting to the government to probably raise a special fund for lecturers and teachers from the College of Education that want to embark on more expanded research, other than creating fund for children that are interested in education.
Yes, you know, for you to...
Because that's one area that we've seen that the College of Education is having a very strong setback.
Yes. Because for you to even think of research and whatever you want to do, you need to have the students. you need to have a robust environment whereby teaching and learning is going on. It is from teaching and learning that your brain will now start thinking of the research topics that will do to address certain issues in Nigerian educational sector. So we need that. Of course, funding on research is what is also needed. The federal government has opened up a research fund. We have what is called IBR, Institutional Based Research Fund, and we have the NRF.
Where some of your colleagues have said it is inaccessible for them.
No, it is. Well, it is accessible.
The report we have, even from various states, most of your colleagues will say that it is more of a political research fund.
No, it's not.
That to a very large extent, they don't have access to this fund.
No,
you want
not.
to quickly speak to this? Do every member of COESU have access to this fund?
Yes, I am a member of the National Research Fund and Monitoring Committee. The fund have given a level playing ground for everybody to access the fund of a maximum of 50 million naira. And when you write your research proposal, it goes from your concept note, it goes through peer review. And once you get that concept note done, you now bring the full proposal. It also goes through peer review. And once you get that peer reviewed, you are invited to come and defend it. After defense, then you get the money. What we are saying is that it's not that you see. Let me give you one typical example.
Please go ahead.
Let's take either ABU or University of Ibadan. The population of lecturers in ABU or University of Ibadan alone is more than the population of 10 colleges of education. So no matter how you do, the research coming out from colleges of education cannot match the number of research.
Oh, is that what your colleagues mean by selected funding?
Yes, so it cannot match the number of researches coming from the College of Education system. So you have more coming there. And of course, the university setting and the College of Education setting is so different that there are more of the research atmosphere than what you see in the College of Education setting. So, but the ground is level. The last, not this year's grant, the last year's grant, based on percentage, not number of submission, College of Education was leading. But when you said number of submission, a university alone can probably submit, let's say, 100 to 200 proposals, one university. And if you look at the colleges of education, because of the number of the staff we have,
we'll likely see 20 to 50.
And 40.
Yes.
So if you look at percentage-wise, we are still doing okay, but we are actually below in terms of the numbering and in terms of percentage. And the National Research Fund mainly is about technicality. When you don't get the technicality right, your research will not scale through. So it's a level playing ground. We have argued that severally. It's a level playing ground, and once your research is good, it must definitely scale.
Well, Dr. Ahmed Lawan, you sound very optimistic, especially when you spoke about the research. You've talked about also the various agreements that the agreement that you just recently renegotiated with the government. And of course, according to you, you've entered arrived at about 50% or thereabouts into the agreement so far. But then, if these agreements do not work as planned, is there a contingency planning by COESU in order to address those setbacks if it doesn't work as planned?
Yes, you see, the government have done something now. If you were on the news yesterday, you see that the part of the university and implementation and monitoring committee was inaugurated yesterday by the Honorable Minister of State. So ours is coming, and this is a different kind of activities. So that committee will surely work towards implementing those nitty-gritty, whether it is political, whether it is economic, whichever aspect of it. So many Nigerians, stakeholders have been brought into that committee that can work to address those issues. And that's why I was saying, for us to even to get this agreement signed, if you look at the caliber of people that were involved in the negotiating in the part of federal government, it gave us the hope that this will be implemented. So, but our agreement of the union, COESU, we the major thing that may drag is the issue of salary, which is a small part of the agreement. And I think government is addressing that. This is in the budget where we saw it, so it's in the budget, so it will be released. And the other aspect, major aspect, is how do we attract our lecturers to remain, and how do we attract our students to come in. We were doing our degree in affiliation. Now colleges of education will do degree not in affiliation. That's what we call the dual mandate. And any student coming in will have double qualification. First, he will obtain the NCE after 3 years and dovetail into degree for 2 years. And the person will now have degree and NCE, a well-qualified teacher.
Is that why you're stopping the federal government from even implementing the policy of JAM? Could this be the reason?
It was the reason, but we are still discussing. Like I told you, there will be a robust discussion next week on the 15th on that issue. Then we'll all bring our own argument on it, and at the end of the day, we'll agree on that.
Dr. Ahmed,
sorry, let me just add.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, any person that graduates through the dual mandate structure, we have also forwarded to the government, which the government have agreed that that person will be employed on level 9 after NYSC, like the medical line. So these are incentives that we are bringing in. We are also looking at the welfare package for the student. For example, if somebody goes for an ITF, or what we call SIWES, Student Industrial Working Experience Scheme, government pays the student. But if a student is going for teaching practice, the student pays. We have also discussed with government. Government have agreed now to pay stipend for students going on teaching practice of 25,000 monthly. And I think it will be improved to 30,000, which we have agreed monthly for students going. So these are small things that we are doing. We have also secured the professorial cadre for our people. So as we meet up the requirement, which is one of the things that causes the brain drain of our people going to the university, to obtain professorial cadre. We have done that with government, we have agreed, and once we meet the major requirement for the institution to start awarding that cadre, it will be done. So we are good to go. Well,
you're good to go, Dr. Ahmed. But before I let you go, even though you're good to go, let's look at, we are entering a political year come 2027. Anything is possible come 2027. And I believe this is one of the reasons why some of the agreements was reneged upon, agreement you entered in 2010. Yes. So if peradventure 2027, the unforeseen happens, and we have a change of government, if the current trajectory and current scenario where you've reached 50% and at that point you have to pause because a new government is supposed to take over, or what have you, what does the future of teacher education in Nigeria, what will it look like in 2030, given it another 10 years, if there is a pause in this agreement right now?
Whether we continue and there is a pause, what we should say, Nigeria as a nation cannot produce world-class academicians by treating lecturers through third-class measures. So every conscious government that wants this country to move forward, whether it's in government or in the near future, must ensure that this aspect of education is taken care of. Because the youth restiveness we are having and the major challenges of insecurity that we are having today is as a result of neglect in education. And a lot of people did not go to school. Out of school children, we are talking about 20 million. Those children have now developed into adolescents. So we are having out of school adolescents now, growing up to 10 million. Now, this is what is bringing the challenges of security in Nigeria. So anybody that will have to come, whether we are continuing or whether there is anybody, must consciously address this issue. If not, even governance will not be easy for that person.
Well, Dr. Ahmed, before I let you go, there is a rising insecurity even within the educational sector, kidnappings and what have you within the education. But then, ASU and other academic staff union of Nigeria, the KWASU, they tend to be silent, apart from the NUT that is speaking up. Is there a reason why unions are not speaking in this regard? Or it's a silent
We
echo?
have been. We have written, we have consulted, we are even discussing with government.
No protests, no placards, no boycotting of classrooms in order to address all of this?
The tense situation of this country, sometimes you need to be careful when you go out to protest. It is so tense that it may be hijacked and you will cause more damage than what you are thinking. But we are working on that. We have the statistics. Over the years, since the Chibok girls' abduction, we have over 28 school invasion and kidnapping that involves staff and students. We also have over 2,000 children and school children that have been kidnapped based on the records today. So we have the statistics, we are discussing, we are making our point to government, we are also profiling solutions on how to go about that. And that's what we are saying. When you make it easy for a young Nigerian to go into school, he gets education. And we know now, based on the discussion we are doing, government is looking at skills acquisition. Now the colleges of education is in the forefront of doing that. And by implication, if you are in a college of education, apart from having your NCE, which will dovetail into degree, you must come out with at least a trade certificate.
But in a situation where NCE holders from colleges of education have been adopted in a state like Oyo and a few other states, if we look at those narrative right now, and the body responsible for colleges of education is not lending its voice in the open, or perhaps a press conference, or carrying placards to even champion the cause to call for the return of children, can we say that colleges of education right now have been fair to its graduates?
No, we are not keeping quiet. Like I said, we have written, we have profiled solutions, we are discussing. You know, some of these approaches that involve security, sometimes you don't just bring it out.
Outburst.
So that's why we are not quiet, but we are doing something. We don't bring it out. We know we have experiences. Even in Kwantagora and some part of Zaria, our lecturers were kidnapped. And so, especially in Maru, Zamfara State, we have a lot of our lecturers, some of our lecturers that were kidnapped. But we are looking at it and we are doing it differently. We are thinking out of the box. We are not doing the regular what people are doing. No, we are giving intellectual solutions to government.
Well, I believe with that intellectual solution, the welfare of your members and also chapter members are in your heart, and you also represent them at every course. We will keep our fingers crossed, and we will wait for some of this intellectual conversation to translate into realities and modern practice to see how far we can go. But it's on this I want to say thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed Lawan, for finding out time to be with us. Yeah, except you want to give us a last word before you go.
Yeah, the last word I want to say is that government sees strike as the disease. Strike is just a symptom of problems. The actual disease is government neglect in education. So we need government to actually treat the problem, not treat the symptoms.
Treat the problem and don't treat the symptom it is. Well, Dr. Ahmed has given us his own education philosophy, what the path the government should take. Treat the symptom,
yes,
and not treat the virus in itself.
Yes.
Prevention is better than cure.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ahmed, for finding out time to be with us here again. Well, viewers, this is how far we can go tonight on Correro. Do not forget that you can leave your thoughts, you can leave your comments, you can leave your suggestion on our various social media handle currently showing on your screen. And you can also download the Rapid TV app from your Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. Of course, you can also share some of our videos on our YouTube handle. And of course, you can also click on the subscribe button so that you get an update on some of our videos that's been uploaded on our YouTube channel. My name is Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do enjoy the rest of your night rest. Bye for now.